Are you a real estate investor looking to sharpen your skills or a newbie looking to become one? You're in the right place. Welcome to Where Should I Invest? Real Estate Investing in Canada with your host, Sarah Larbi.
Hey everybody, it is Sarah Larbi. I hope you are doing well, and we are in the midst of it in quarantine times or social isolation. I don't like that word actually. It should be physical distancing. But I'm still at the cottage. I've probably lived up here for the last 3 months, which I must say is pretty nice now that the weather has turned for the better. And here and there, I go back to Oakville. I've finished the Burlington property. It's now listed. I'm going to see if I can actually sell it. If not, then I will either rent it or I'll move into it. It's always good to have more than one exit strategy. But I will say it's going to be interesting times ahead. We haven't really seen much happening in the market right now. It's been just frozen. Sales, listings, all that stuff, it's starting to pick up a little bit. And it's going to be interesting because Ford just announced for the month of June that we are continuing the state that we are in. So we're not moving forward to opening a whole lot more. But, we got to make the best of it. I will say, though, like I mentioned, we haven't seen a whole lot yet. Do I expect things to go down? It's going to be interesting because CMHC came out and they said that there might be an 18% decrease. And I don't actually think that they are going to be far off. But that 18% decrease, like when we look at all of Canada, is that going to hit certain areas more than others? Absolutely. I think that's the key piece. As investors in properties that are 3, 4, 5, 600,000, which we're buying, we may not see that same decrease as a multi-million-dollar property, as an example. And I think that's where that market is going to pull down. And is it going to be 18%? I don't know. I mean, I will say CMHC has some really smart people doing a lot of research for them. So it's a potential. I know that CIBC also came out with some I guess an analysis of what's going to happen in the next few months. But ultimately, we have to prepare for the best and prepare for the worst. So get your cash ready. If it's burning a hole in your pocket, just hang tight. You can still buy some deals now, but make sure that you're ready to buy in the fall, in the winter, because once CERB payments are done, and also once mortgage deferrals resume, then there might be some people that are going to be panicking depending on how many jobs people actually go back to and what that unemployment rate looks like. So again, we don't know, but is there going to be a little bit of a dip? Absolutely. This is why we buy for cash flow, and it doesn't have to be a whole amount of cash flow, but it'll allow us to take that up and down and ride that wave. So hopefully you guys are in good shape. Happy to answer any questions if you have thoughts or ideas or situations that you want to share. Feel free to send me an email, sarah@sarahlarbi.com. I also have a tenant screening enhanced program that is available because in Ontario, as you guys might know, the landlord-tenant board is closed until further notice. So it is going to be crucial. Where we have control is the screening process. Screen very thoroughly, and there's going to be some added things that you might want to do post-COVID to ensure that those tenants are the right ones for you. So you can check that out, sarahlarbi.com. Check out the Tenant Enhanced program. And I am doing a group coaching as well, starting in June, towards the end of June. So if you guys are interested, that you can find that information on my website as well. So with that said, I've got two awesome guys on today's podcast, Rob and Joel, who are some of my contractors, and they've just finished actually my Burlington property and have done a really good job. And I've used other contractors as well, but I'm really happy with how they put everything together. This one was really hands off for me. I'm usually the one working through the different trades and being the contractor piece. So it's nice to be much more hands-off on this one. So they're really awesome, and hope you enjoy the podcast. Hey guys, welcome to the show. Rob, Joel, my contractors. Nice to have you on. How are you?
We're good. How are you?
Good. First podcast, right, for you guys?
Yeah, we're virgins on this one.
Nice. So I wanted to bring you on. I don't think we've had too many shows where we've talked about, the whole process of contracting and renovations, but you guys are currently doing one of my projects right now on my Burlington house. We may or may not sell it. We're still trying to finalize that. But before we get into all of that, how did you guys get into real estate? How did you get into what you do currently, being contractors?
Go ahead.
Well, I've been in it for probably over 12 years. I started as a painter, believe it or not, and I actually worked for Joel.
Nice.
Then it just built into something else. You meet a bunch of contacts, and then it just feathered into a whole contracting business where you just collect a bunch of contacts, and it slowly grew into a pretty big business.
All right, good. Now, do any of you invest in real estate investing on your own?
I do. I just purchased one that you guys have been to. We took it to 7 Imelda, is a duplex conversion. And we just finished it maybe 3 weeks ago, and are still looking for the basement to be rented out. Just during these times, it's looking like a little bit harder to get the rent flow in there, but it's been it's been a process, but it's been enjoyable.
All right, good. So one of the things I've had the most trouble with when I first started investing was to find reliable contractors that have fair prices, that you don't need to babysit. And a lot of my original burrs, I was doing a lot of babysitting, and I was going through a lot of different contractors, other than my father-in-law, who did a lot of great work for us and still does. But there is some contractors that just didn't work out, right? I've had contractors that did a great job on a property, and the second property, unfortunately, didn't go so well. And you guys seem pretty solid so far. And you also work with a lot of investors. When an investor is looking for renovations and finding the right contractors, like, what are some things that they should look for?
Well, I think you need to see the end product of what they're producing, and if that's a sort of continuous thing. A lot of times, you can knock it out of the park on the first job, and then not so hot on the second job. So because we've been doing this for a while, you learn how to correct potential problems with drawings and layouts and all that stuff, and also trying to keep it within budget, right? So Rob and I have been doing this for a while, together for a little bit and separate for a longer time. And you really learn those things. So if someone's looking for someone to hire, then it would be a good idea to go around and see some of their projects and see if that makes sense with the ballpark price that you're trying to get. You want to add to that, Rob?
Actually, yeah, we actually recently just started doing some videos. Obviously through you, Sarah, you gave us that heads up, maybe it'd be beneficial, but it actually is. A lot of times we'd show a before and after, and the before and after shots that we'd show, a lot of people just scroll through. Oh yeah, it looks great. But to actually be able to see the process when our trades are on site and going through and what's going in behind your walls and what you're seeing, it's a good update for these clients. And a lot of clients that we deal with, or investors, they don't have the time to be there. They don't have time to see actually what's going on, and they want to trust the contractor that's doing the work and just see that the whole thing's getting put together properly and there's no missed days. So timeline's like really a number one priority for us. And recently we haven't been able to hit it with this whole COVID era, right. But we're really trying, but it's a real struggle for everybody. But I think a lot of people have had some understanding about it, and we're just trying to follow some safety protocols, hence the
face masks for those of you that are listening that you don't see. Yes, absolutely. We got to do the social isolation, but I'm happy that you guys are still working on the Burlington house. Obviously there's less staff because we've got to respect the whole, social isolation thing, but things are coming along. I think that's the biggest thing is, for me, when, I heard from a couple other investors about you guys, and then I went to see your work, that you did a property in Oakville. It is really hard to find the right contractor that you can be hands-off. Like, this has been probably the most hands-off project I've done in all of my burrs that I have done. And because of the lack of time, this was our better route to just hire you guys to be able to do it from start to finish. And I think I've been in that house 4 times now since it started. So let's walk through, when you're doing a project, and I know this is a full reno that we just did, top and bottom, but just a project in general, what are some things that we should know as investors when you're starting, when you're quoting, how do you work with investors from the start? So like, for example, you're going to see the property, you're giving them a quote. What are the steps?
Well, for us, it's starting with making that good communication, a good relationship with the client. Obviously, they've gotten your referral through somebody. And for us to make that happen with them, you need to approach the scenario with...
I think what you're trying to say is the ability to learn from the client what they're after. How hands off they want to be, what kind of finishes they're looking for. The target, say if they're after renters, the target renters. And that'll change how we approach it too, right? With some of the finishes and all those things. Like a lot of the drawings will dictate exactly what you have to do with the more structural stuff. However, the finishes can vary in price point and attractiveness at the end of the job. And so we need to learn what the client is after in order to guide them into that and to make those decisions earlier on so that it fits within the budget. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know it does. So like when I brought you guys in, and actually we did it before, I think we did a video or you guys went through the property before we removed our conditions, which anybody that's listening, if you've got a property under condition of inspection or financing, good idea is to bring your contractors through so that they can give you a quote and give you an idea of the work that's going to be involved. Because if the budget is going to be double what you predicted and the deal doesn't work anymore, that deal you might not be able to buy it at the price that you did. So that is important. I think the other pieces, like you mentioned, Joel and Rob, is just to understand what your clients need. So for us, like I told you what kind of ARV I was looking for, the after repair value, and this is the budget, and here's what we want to do. Here's plan A exit, here's plan B exit. With COVID and all the economic changes, it might be plan B exit, but so let's just fast forward then to the contract and how people work with you and the different steps. So you have a contract that you guys filled out. What's important as an investor to make sure is included in those contracts?
Well, you want the contract to be clear, professional. So what we do is we provide a quote, and I'm sure a lot of other guys do the same thing. You provide a quote, and then if it's in the ballpark where it financially makes sense for the investment, then it tends to go a little bit back and forth here. Like, oh, let's add this, let's remove this. And that tends to go for, a number of versions. Then after that, we get into the contract stage. And for us, we dictate everything that's included, isn't included, and then some, we typically have draw schedules so that, we receive payment after X and X is done, right? I think I would advise clients to do that to make sure you're paying after things are done. Like obviously a contractor needs some money up front to know, that you're capable of paying them. And then after that, for the progress. So you encourage the progress of the renovation. There's too many guys, they want to pull a lot of money out. And then if you want to be hands off, you don't know, your house could sit empty for 2 weeks. And then you show up on a weekend, you're like, wait a second, this is exactly the same thing it was 2 weeks ago. And I just paid another, 10 grand, 20 grand to them. So I think that's one of the things you want to look for being an investor with contracts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say too, like you said, like something could be the same in 2 weeks. Like you guys are pretty good with sending us videos and updates of what's been done. So even if, I've only been there 4 times, I get videos and I get pictures of what's been done pretty much on a daily basis so that I know that there's still stuff that's moving forward. So for somebody that really doesn't know anything about construction or doing renos in a property, like what are the first steps to the last steps? Like which trades do you bring in first? What do you do in first? If for example, we were going to do a basement conversion and renovate the entire upstairs.
You're referring to the whole the renovation construction
Process. Yeah.
process. Okay. So we start with your demo team comes in. We get it all cleaned up, everything's stripped down. Then we'll bring in a bunch of trades will come in at once. So you'll have your electricians, your HVAC, and your plumbers all doing your rough-ins. And then after that, you'll be looking at inspections. And as soon as you get your inspections and you're able to board, you're looking at mud and tape process after that. And then all of your finishes start, which is, for us, it's a lot of organizational skills. You have to be able to coordinate all the trades at the same time, and they have to be ready and willing to go so that you're not losing a day throughout the whole process. Because a lot of those kind of conversions are around 3.5 to 4 months. So actually right now it's been a little bit difficult for that as well, because we're only allowed one trade in at a time. And when we get to finishes, we bring in probably about up to 10 to 12 different trades, kitchen guys, floor guys, trim guys. They all work together. It's a great process when it happens and you can see it done that quickly. But nowadays, right now, we're getting one trade in, as you know, Sarah, from your house in Burlington. It's a bit slower, but it's coming there. And that's just the way we have to deal with it these days. But when it gets back to normal, hopefully soon, we can get back to the process that we're used to, because it's really, you have to be a little bit OCD about it in the way you're organizing the whole thing. If you're just trying to be a general yourself as an investor, it's really tough. You can take that 4-month project and easily double the time. So just think about that when you're looking at your cash flow for the last 4 months. That's a lot of extra money that it could have taken. It could easily take. I could tell you a number of people that they've done that to, and it didn't work out because they're too busy. They're working full-time jobs. They're trying to do this in the meantime, and they can't schedule in. So what happens is they get stuck at a trade period. They bring in their tiler, and tiles get done, and then they think, oh, well, what's the next step? Oh, I know I need the floor guys in. So they call their floor guy, and the floor guy says, well, I can't get in there for 2 weeks. They don't have a lot of control with a lot of these guys, where we have them all the time, and it just becomes a lot easier to flow a system with them.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how many properties can you do at the same time?
As of right now, even during this time, we're doing about 6 or 7 we've got on the go, and normally we like to maintain 12 to 15. This is a newer company, and we've grown to be able to hire a new project manager. So we'll be able to actually attack a lot more. And the reason we did that was so that we could attack a lot more in the sense of working with investors, with conversions, whether they're flips or just regular renovations. People want their bathroom done. We have to be able to still accommodate the small renovations as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you did mention some people do their own and they self-contract, or they hire a contractor that, can save a lot of time. What is your role? Like, what do you do as a contractor? I'm guessing other than coordinating all the trades.
Well, we're involved with obviously watching the budget, quality control, timelines, which is one of the key ones. And then depending on the involvement of the client with the purchasing of appliances and all the fixtures, we sometimes do that, we sometimes don't. So those are kind of the main things we're involved with throughout the project. And those things take a lot of time. So if you're wanting to hire someone, if they say that they're going to themselves physically do each and every trade on that job, the job's going to take a long time. The time it takes to manage the, payroll and all the financial stuff / client communications / shopping, which Rob's great at, by the way, all those things, they take time, right? So those are what we concentrate on, let's call it.
And we don't mind doing the shopping, but some clients like to take it over because they can get a better deal, and they get some good deals. And I think, Sarah, you're a perfect example of that. But we just lucked out in that sense during this COVID time that it makes it a lot harder for you to shop for that stuff. So it benefited us in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, like in this case, I pulled back the materials, but really ultimately, I don't know if it actually made that big of a difference, because we still had to go shopping, like you said, right? We still had to go pick stuff out, and some investors love to do that for the cost difference. I don't think that there was necessarily a cost difference per se. Now that I look back at it, I mean, because you still have good deals on stuff. Like there's still, deals wherever I guess people go, but there's still discounts that you can use and you can share. And but I think if I were to do this again, I'd probably, just based on the lack of time that I have, let you guys just pick out the finishes, and pick out everything.
Next.
What's that?
So what project's next?
Potentially another cottage.
Yeah, I heard you thinking about that.
It's tough. We're debating whether we want another cottage or Costa Rica property. Like there's just a few things like kind of up in the air. And I don't think we're going to do anything until the fall. I think the deals are going to come at that point in time for us personally.
I'll check my passport, make sure it's good for Costa Rica. I'm pretty sure we're good for that though.
Nice. So, I think ultimately though, like for the difference of cost savings or not, and my time, I don't necessarily think if I hire a contractor again, I don't think I would necessarily care to remove all the materials as a separate thing. And I think once you do like a project or two with the same contractors, they know what you like. Again, you still have to just make sure you don't want to just, let them free reign the whole project. Like I'm guessing people should still be checking in just to make sure that that's still what they want, and things are still going to plan. How do you find your trades?
Monday morning, pretty grumpy. usually a bit late, but no. So dealing with trades it's a whole kind of art in its own, right? And so we have guys that we've come across over the time, and if they're really good at what they do and they're on time and respectful and clean, we cherish those guys and we try to keep them busy so that they stay with us. Now I'm referring to subcontractors. We also have the employees. Those are the musts that we have in employing someone. So there's always a bit of battle with some of the trades, some of the tapers, let's just call it what it is. Like there's some more battles with those type of people, but then your electricians and your plumbers, and we just have great people that we work with.
Great relationships with those.
And if you do have like a bunch of things going on, then there's some loyalty there, right? I think when Rob and I used to be painters, we'd be loyal to the people who are continuously giving us work. And that was, that worked both ways. So I'm not sure if that answered your question. But
are you finding them through like job postings or referrals, or like is it mostly referrals from other contractors or other investors?
100% referrals.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to find people in general as well. Just ask others that are in that areas, and who they're using and who they're working with.
Well, let's ask you, how did you find us when you first met us? You heard about us, or what happened?
You were a referral from Dave Knight and Matt. I think you guys do a lot of jobs for cops. So, so that's how that happened. And that was, and Matt would always mention, we should look at having Rob do it in the next job. So then we saw your Oakville house that you did, and we actually almost bought it even for us to just move into. We're like, oh, this is really nice. So that's how that happened. And then we hired you to do Burlington.
See, so it comes down to, and really what these investors or clients should be looking at is, it comes back to go do your homework. Check out, we're always willing as a company to bring clients out to our job sites. It's great because they're usually empty and they can see the process and they can dive in and see your finishes and whatnot. But definitely check them out. Do your research, do 2 or 3 trades and check them all out. See what you're getting from these guys.
Absolutely. So, okay. So here's a question. Like if I'm going into, or an investor is going into a property, what are some of the things before they call you that they should look out for, like big ticket items that are going to cost a lot of money? Like how do you, in your mind, not knowing a whole lot about renovations, figure out, okay, how much is this actually going to cost? Like, can we get some rough ideas of like averages for an investment type of property going through something? So like if it needs a new kitchen, like what's the average cost? If it needs a new bathroom, what's the average cost? Again, no one's going to hold you to anything, but on average in 2020 as an investment basic, rental, finish it.
Go ahead, Joel.
You take one, I'll take the other.
All right.
You do kitchen, I'll do
So
bathroom.
usually kitchens, you're looking at anywhere from 8 to 10,000 from start to finish, from your cabinetries, your counters, and everything. You can definitely take that on a higher end and go high end on everything, or medium end, or even low end. But every investor is different. We have some that like to do the lower profile, just, paint the trims, leave some of the cabinets, just paint it, refresh it, make it look okay. It saves them some costs, but I don't think it gets them the actual higher rents that they could be getting from it. I've always been prone to do the little extras, do some like nice closet feature walls, just little things. This is what people are looking for, and that's what's going to get you some of the higher rents for these duplex conversions. That's just my opinion. I mean, I did that on my own and I found value in it. People were loving that kind of stuff. I've even found it when we've done a few flips. It's been the same kind of atmosphere for that kind of stuff. But there definitely are people that they don't want to spend on that portion just to save the money. And I hear that in the sense of they're trying to stay within their budget. But the key is to try and stay within that budget then and make it work for them.
Right. I mean, I think kitchen and bathrooms are going to be your biggest bang for your buck.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Bathrooms are looking like you can do a pretty basic bathroom for probably like $8,000. We do a lot of custom bathrooms and you can take those up to like 30, 40K for just one bathroom. So it's just, for an investor, for those conversions or any kind of a flip, you really don't want to be spending more than $8,000 in a bathroom. But get your basics. You can still get some nice finishes. It'll pass.
Get a nice tub with some nice white tile, subway tile, something like that, and a nice vanity and some decent fixtures, and it'll really kind of look clean and pop, and it'll be durable long term, and it won't hurt the budget.
Yeah, absolutely. A few months ago when you mentioned that most of your even high-end homes have IKEA for kitchens, it was still pretty surprising. And then when you look at some of the properties that have the IKEA kitchens, because you guys finished them like at the top and everything, they don't even remotely look like IKEA kitchens when they're done.
Kitchen should not be selling at 1.2 mil. And I mean, they even had vinyl floors, like same kind of finishes. It's just how you tie it in. If you got some good carpenters that tie it in, there's a lot of contractors we see just throw the boxes up and it's just call it what it is. But people come in and they look at it and it looks shoddy. It doesn't appeal to anybody's eye. They just think, oh yeah, anybody could do that. So they don't really see the high level skill that a carpenter brings to the table of making it look a little more custom.
We should do a time-lapse video of that sometime.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Now that I'm thinking about it, because you can show before and after, but the time that it takes to do that, including the painting.
Yeah.
That'd be actually a good idea.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, before and after. I mean, and just in different budget types, right? Or different types of conversions or different types of projects. Because a lot of the burrs that I've done were single family. I'm doing the triplex now. You guys are working on the Burlington one, which is technically, a single family, but 2 units. If somebody's got a budget, like let's just say my budget is $50,000 and I want to renovate, what's the biggest bang for my buck? Like, where should my money go?
So we'll paint your house for that. No.
Not us physically, don't be silly.
No, for 50,000 on a budget for a single family, you want to do some of the facial lifts. You want to do the floors, the kitchen, the baths. You're not going to be able to touch the trim indoors. You want to paint, refresh it, maybe throw a few bucks into the landscaping outside. And it's really just all facial. no hardcore ripping down load-bearing walls and getting into heavy electrical and HVAC costs. For a lot of people that want to know the heavy costs when they're going into a property, look at the exterior, look at the roof, look at the windows, look at the doors. It's going to be very hard to tell in a basement setting where a lot of these people do conversions if it's finished, because a lot of the times they already have finished walls and you want to be able to see the foundation. Does it have any leaks? Because that's an extra $10K bill on you when you get inside, and you got to add that to your conversion costs. So even equipment, like, furnace, AC, is it doable? Is it going to last for a couple of years, or do we have to replace it? Those are big bills that are coming up that are, I mean, if you get the right contractor and you get the right price, great. But those 3Ks and 5Ks will add up, and they'll definitely take you over your budget.
Yeah, and especially because they don't help with the after repair value necessarily. And that's usually the properties I avoid are the ones with foundation issues that need all new windows, a new furnace, a new roof. Like one item is fine, but as long as it's not foundation, I usually pass on that. But if something needs a new roof, we'll do the new roof. But ultimately, you're never going to get the best bang for your dollar at that point in time, and it's never going to help your after repair value. So, like what I found is, kitchen, bathrooms, flooring, paints, and just like finishes, right? The lights and the handles and that kind of stuff help with the getting the best value, anyways. Is that what you guys are finding too?
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. The sexy finishes, they call
it. The trim finishes sometimes.
Like the stuff that, draws your eye in versus we have more insulation in the attic.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take your word for it. But people will want to pay more when they can see something, especially having it like a before and after where it really changed.
And they really don't even need to see that much. A lot of people go into like 2 or 3 different feature walls or something. You just need one little aspect, because a lot of the times, even on a flip house, I've noticed that people come in, they want to buy it, and it's just based on that little flower that's hanging on the friggin' counters in the kitchen, and they fall in love with the house. And it has nothing to do with the $150,000 you just put into it.
Yeah, it's only $50,000 for that flower.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty good deal, actually.
That's funny. I think you guys did an accent wall, or I saw a picture of it on Walnut there.
Right. Yeah, we did shiplap on one of your walls there, which is
nice.
It's a really good look, I find. It's just clean. It's, you can paint it an accent color or just even keep it white, but those sort of horizontal lines look kind of really slick.
That's great. So what are some pitfalls that you've had, being in the business for so long? Like, for example, the city trying to stop your work, or things along those lines. Like, give us some good stories, because this is where a lot of the horror stories that I hear come from, the renovation part, or having bad tenants that play the system. So, do you guys have any cool stories, or contractor gone wrong, aka you guys having to take over stories that you can share with the audience, just for a little bit of entertainment purposes?
Yeah, one that comes to my mind immediately is I through referral, I was called by some lady. She seemed a little bit panicky, and so I went over to her house that night with her husband and she said, "We've been in this renovation for 4 months, I believe, at the time." She said, "I don't think it's going quite right." And she's like, I don't know that this is done properly. So I took, a closer look, and there's so many atrocities happening there. And so we had to change all the flooring that they put down, both upstairs and downstairs. The tiling, when we ended up doing the job, all the tiles came off without breaking. They weren't there was no subfloor. They just put them on some dusty OSB and it came off. All the plumbing was done to the point where it wasn't properly soldered on. And so we had to go open up all the walls, check all the plumbing. They had no permits for even electrical, it's just really bad. It was a do-it-yourselfer kind of doing all those things. You don't want that type of person, especially if you want to live in that house, dealing with your plumbing and your electrical and your gas, right? So I felt really bad because the first night I met them, I left and she was crying because it was such a nightmare. But we were able to rectify it for them. Obviously, it cost them more money. But that was what comes to mind first when it comes to just a nightmare job. And you almost you just want her to feel better about it, even though it's just costing them more money. It felt good to finish the project properly, but it wasn't a good scenario for them to begin with.
No, absolutely. That's why it's important to do our homework and hire from referrals, because my thoughts are that person probably was not a referral from somebody else that was happy and used them before. So thanks for sharing. It's always good to have some stories, for just there's good and there's bad and there's very ugly in all the businesses. And, when it comes to renovations, there's definitely a lot of bad and ugly. What about stories with neighbors? Because you gave me a great idea of giving the neighbors gift cards for the LCBO, $25 and a little letter, and they love that, right? So now that there's construction, they're not super upset about it. Has that ever been an issue? How did you come up with that idea? It's a great idea.
I did that ever since the beginning. That's why I told you to do it. It's something I did even when I bought my very first house. It's just a way to get your name in the community and get your neighbors to know you. And just if anything goes wrong and that neighbor is even thinking for 1 minute, hey, I'm going to call because that person didn't cut his grass or whatever it may be. You're just eliminating a lot of problems in the beginning because they're thinking, oh, this person gave me a nice little LCBO gift card in the mail or something like that. It's just smart to do in any occasion, whether you're doing a renovation or not, or moving to the neighborhood or not.
Yeah. I think it's just keeping the peace too.
Yeah.
We were doing one job on a little court, and I always ask the guys to park on the one side, to limit traffic reduction.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, I parked on the other side of the road that day for 10 minutes, and I saw this lady go by, and she was rude. I could tell she was upset. Anyway, sure enough, later that day, the Ministry of Labor showed up, and they said, "Oh, you got to do this," which is fine. It's valid. There's certain things that we just had to adjust to make him happy. He was pretty happy in general, but if we hadn't had everything together, we would have been shut down, right? So just by keeping the peace, it avoids, potential delays or big delays. That make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. We had in Brantford, we had Matt's dad working on one of the little tiny porch. And a neighbor had called because somebody had called on him. So he wanted to get it back. And it wasn't us that called on him, but he wanted to get back because he was angry that somebody had ratted him out back in the day. So we had to stop. We had to get the permits for the smallest porch ever, whatever. It's fine. But sometimes that's just what happens, right? Is you just get the neighbors complaining. So treat them well from the start. And that was a great tip. They actually asked us when it was snowing, there was a snowstorm. They sent a message to Matt saying, "Do you want me to shovel your driveway?" I thought that was pretty nice.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
See, it works.
Yeah. Need some money. You mentioned Dave Knight, but he got a few fines for not shoveling his sidewalk on one of the jobs we were doing on the weekends. In the week, we would do it for him. I think he got $600 or $800 fine just for not shoveling a driveway.
Oh no,
that's another story, but that's kind of silly.
That's tough, right? Of course, he's in an area that, his properties are in an area that's a little bit more traveled.
Right.
So, and I think the city where he's at is a little bit more a pain in the ass too.
They're definitely strict.
So what areas do you guys cover?
Well, everywhere but Toronto.
Including Costa Rica. Typically Oakville all the way around sort of the Golden Horseshoe.
Yeah.
So sometimes we dip into Mississauga, but right now we would even do Toronto with the way traffic is, but obviously in the next month that will be changing. But we try to keep a geography where we can be attending a job every day, whether it's Rob or I or our project manager, just so that everything's, any problems are caught or we know exactly what's going on each and every job.
So out of the two of you plus your project manager and your 12 to 14 projects that you've got on the go, every day you guys are somewhere to check in.
Definitely. Yeah, you have to be. It changes so quickly. Every night, Joel and I go over a just different game plan, a different schedule, and we work off of a new app called Builder Trend. I don't know if any viewers are familiar with it, but it really helps us and it really helps the client. They can sign into this program, this app, and they can see if they have their drawings there, any side notes. They can see the schedule of where their house is at. It's a pretty new program we've started, but it's really beneficial. I can see some benefits from it coming for our company.
That's cool. Can you sign me up on that? I'd like to try it out.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm worried because you can assign to-do lists. And
I don't know.
If you get on that, we'll have like all these to-do lists. Oh no.
No, you know what? I think I'm actually like so hands off, like in comparison to a lot of people, because like I get your daily, pictures and videos. And also like, here's my take on it is like, you guys have a lot to lose. Like if I'm not happy or I'm happy, your referrals will either be there or they won't be there.
It's true. It goes a long way. But back to what you said about a lot of the cops that we do. Like if you mess up one of those, I mean, we've probably done like 58 of them, 60. I can't even count.
Like
anymore.
I said, we've probably done, and then gave you an exact number.
I can't even remember. There's so many of them. But if you mess up one of those guys, your name is going to just flow through the whole city.
Reputation is everything in your business.
Definitely.
And my guess is that's how you get the majority of the people that you work with is a referral from another referral, whoever that is, right?
Exactly.
Right.
So my concern is like, if somebody's listening to this and you're like finding somebody on Kijiji and they're available like right away, I would question that. That'd be a huge red flag for me. And if you're not getting referrals, like that's the only way I would do the, like any trades. Or really anybody on my team at this point, right? Even a realtor, like if I'm going to Costa Rica, I want a referral from somebody that's, that I trust, that maybe have worked with this person or, knows them into some capacity. So I think that's the biggest piece to making real estate investing more simple, because this could be very complicated having the wrong people. And I've had issues where like I've had to fire contractors or handyman in the past because of like alcoholic, drinking on the job, drugs, like, I mean, you name it. Like we've had projects that have been delayed maybe a month and a half because of a drug problem. And like, again, it like, shit happens. It is what it is. But, at some point it's like, okay, do you want to, manage all the trades yourself? Or do you want to just hire out a contractor that you can trust? And like, I won't lie, like you guys are not the cheapest, but I also don't have to worry and spend any time doing anything. And I'm like, oh, I don't feel like looking for lights. I'm like, Rob, can you just text me which lights to get or whatever? Like just like all the little details. But I think most importantly, there's just a time and place for babysitting. And there's some projects that I'd be willing to do it on. And this is not one of them. I think it's, again, like not everybody necessarily wants to hire a contractor. Some people want to contract it out, but just know that it comes with managing a lot of trades and you're going to have to be there a lot more often. You're going to be doing like you guys are just saying, like you're there every single day. When I had to property manage, I was there not every day, but quite a bit. And especially when, things were going downhill a little bit, I needed to actually physically be there. And I ended up even doing some work, which I'm horrible at, absolutely horrible at doing any of this work. But I ended up painting because I'm like, I don't know if I trust this guy anymore. And then we had to fire him. And then I think he threw a rock in my window afterwards. Anyways, like everyone's got like a horrible story with trades or contractors. So definitely get referrals. This one was not a referral. And when everyone makes their mistakes and learn. It was not a referral from somebody that's actually worked with them. It was a referral from somebody that just happened to meet them. And they did a good job on one of the properties, and then the other property, it just went downhill. So when you're looking for trades and you're finding trades, like you guys probably deal with the same stuff. It's just, you're like that cushion. So we don't have to hear it, right? You're dealing with it, you're firing, you're probably hiring, like, is that kind of this day-to-day stuff that you're also dealing with?
Yeah, we use a lot of the same ones. It takes a lot for us to get rid of one of the trades that we've already been using because we've worked with them so well and so hard to get that relationship. But definitely we're always out there looking. But I hear the headaches from clients all the time about contractors. And one of the things Joel and I were talking about is actually when we're dealing with jobs for start to finish. They want us to take over. They don't have time. A lot of these people have an uncle or a brother that can do drywall or something. And we hear this commonly all the time. And it's so difficult for us to steer them away from that. But we kind of have to be on board and say, okay, well, but it really interrupts their timelines. And it's not beneficial for the client or the investor to be using that family member. I mean, I have a family member that's an electrician or this, that, and the other. And I don't even use them. And they're great people. They're very successful businesses. Good companies, but it's not good to mix the business and mix different contractors with other contractors. The reason we work so well with our team is because they all know each other. If these subtrades miss something, we can get the other subtrade to grab something that the other guy missed. And it's not necessarily his job to do, but he'll do it for us. And a lot of the times clients don't have to play with those trades to be able to say that.
I think also, Sarah, you're kind of alluding to the kind of buffer zone that we offer. Like what we do, it's a full-time job, and that's assuming like we've been doing this for a while and we have a list of guys we can call. But you're right in that there are things that happen the client doesn't hear about because that's our stress to bear and not you guys. So that's just the other advantage to hiring a contractor versus trying to contract everything yourself. If you're working full time and or you have a number of properties, even just the one, it's a lot of time. And what's your time worth?
That's the real question. What's your time? Your
time is valuable. And if you're adding time to do this, it takes away from your family or your other job. And you're also increasing your stress load. For a lot of people, it's not really worth it, right? Like we'll bear that stress for you, right?
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? Is you got to work on your business, not in your business, but sometimes by managing all the trades and self-contracting, depending on the project size and the ARV and the numbers, it may just not make sense to try to do it all. If you're handy, if somebody's handy, that's like a detriment because they're going to try to do it themselves rather than, looking for the next deal or working on the business and working on where are you going to get the most profit from. They're working on painting or doing the drywall, and that's the time, right? But I think we all do real estate because we want freedom and we want to be able to like change our lives financially and free up some time, right?
Right.
I don't want to work forever. I don't want to be working 40 hours a week either. So that's what real estate does for me. Now, in terms of your types of properties that you're like jobs that are small, that are big, are you specifically doing anything and everything? Are you focusing on specific types of renovations? What are you mostly doing in terms of contracting?
Well, we do work for a lot of investors. So that's doing projects like your own and sometimes bigger ones like triplexes and stuff. And then we also have a lot of clients where they're living in the house or they want to build, like they want to do an addition on their home, or we've done a few from scratch. And that's kind of like the second part of our business, if that makes sense. We do like to do the investments because they're sort of continual work. And then we also like to do some more of the custom stuff because, it's sometimes, just a change of scenery. And it's also, they're always a little bit more unique in how they're doing it. So it kind of keeps us both, interested by having the business a bit split like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you guys created a business together. Like what's each of your roles? Like, are you doing both the same or are you dividing and conquering? How does that work?
Yeah, we have different strengths. Rob doesn't have any and I have all of them. But no, Rob's more, he deals with clients more than I do. And I'm a little bit more the administrator sort of thing. And I don't mind putting a tool bag or pouch on once in a while. Rob, his hands are softer than you can imagine. He hasn't worked in a long time. So we have different interests in that. And so Rob actually mentioned years ago, he was working for me and we kind of went our own way for a while. And we both kind of started in this type of thing and not because of anything else, but we tend to be I don't know, we're just, people like us and they trust us. And so we got into different things where we started managing people, and then businesses grew. And then we decided, well, maybe we would be stronger together than apart. Right. Because and it kind of makes sense because different strengths. I acknowledge I cannot do everything. I'm not strong at everything. And it took a while for Rob to realize the same, but he did as well.
I just want to add to that on the paperwork for the company, it does show my name as president and Joel as secretary. So.
Yeah. So you can tell who has a little bit of humility and who doesn't.
But on a serious note, if I have a property and I'm walking through it and I want to video somebody, one of you guys, who is it going to be?
You're definitely calling me.
Yeah.
Call Rob. You're going to go through it. You're putting the quote together. And then Joel, you're doing all the admin stuff and a lot of the on-site stuff.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, we have a project manager who does a lot of that stuff. But yeah, we put the quote together, usually after Rob goes through all the details about the job. But Rob will be your guy. And if anyone wants to call him, if they're unsure about a property and they want to do this, a FaceTime video, that's just, that's a great way to potentially catch some great pluses or minuses with the project. We don't mind doing that, or he doesn't mind doing that.
Especially if you need a rough number right away. It's just something that a house is going, you got multiple offers on, and you just need some kind of rough budget on what that kind of will be. I've had numerous clients call me and just walk me through the house on the video and just show me. I just need to see the layout of the house and what you can do to it. And I can usually give you a pretty rough ballpark for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Without seeing behind the walls, obviously.
Oh, but nobody can see behind the walls. So until you get to that stage, we can usually assume by what we're seeing on the face of the walls, though, on what we might be into.
All right. Sounds good. And then usually what kind of time or leeway do you need? Like, if I need something done, started in a week from now, is that too short notice, or is there like a certain schedule you're working with?
There's definitely always a schedule, but yeah, Sarah will jump on it for you tomorrow. No problem.
No, but
a permit. Yeah. Right now, it's a little difficult to start anything, as we all know.
Of course.
But yeah, the more time, the better. But usually, clients are purchasing the project, and that closing time is enough time to get into our schedule. Make sense?
Okay. Yep, sounds good, because you've got the 12 to 14 projects going on at once. So you have enough people to be able to add a few projects as well within that.
Another reason for the merger is just so that we could handle more, because we were both finding it quite hard to manage multiples at a time. I think we got up to 8 on our own, and it was too much. We realized what we were missing and what we needed to join together to be able to handle them all.
Right. One of the things I will say is the quality of your work is definitely very good. And, sometimes when I'm walking through multi-million-dollar house in Oakville, as an example, like I'm going to be much pickier than a Brantford Burr, as an example. Right. And I do like the quality of your work. How do you ensure that your trades meet that quality requirement that you guys have?
Well, for a lot of the licensed guys, it's, we have experience with them, and they're passing their permits and all that stuff. But when it comes to things like painters and carpenters, like, I swear, a good carpenter, if you find him, hang on to him. Don't let him go and retire on you like one of our guys is trying to do. It's so important, because those are the things that tie the whole place together. All right. So painting, tiling, carpentry, flooring, even.
Definitely true. Yeah.
Those are the trades that can always be better and worse, right? When you deal with electricians, yeah, they did it perfect. Everything works. Plumbers, everything works. Carpentry, you can always pursue to be more of a craftsman.
Okay, that's good to know. Awesome. So the final part of this podcast is our lightning round. So I'm going to ask you a series of 5 questions. Everybody gets the same 5 questions, and you're going to give me the first answer that comes to mind. Are you ready?
One sec.
Go ahead, Rob.
Rob seems really nervous. By the way, like, you guys are hilarious, because they were texting me all of these questions, like, hey, what are, how does this go? Like, this is my first podcast. You guys are doing a really good job for your first podcast and being super nervous. Don't worry, these questions are harmless. All right, question number 1. If you don't know, you can pass, or one of you guys can answer. what is your favorite real estate investing book ever?
Sarah Larbi. Did you write a book?
No, not yet.
Oh.
We're waiting for it.
Okay, a book. Do you guys read? No?
More sports magazines than real estate investing.
No, we read.
All right, sounds good. Okay, number 2, what is your favorite podcast?
Go ahead.
This one being our first one, I would say is pretty good.
Do you guys listen to podcasts?
Oh, I do a lot, yeah. I like some of the more popular ones like The Daily and Joe Rogan and stuff like that.
All right, awesome. Question number 3, what is your favorite pastime? What do you do for fun when it's not your work or real estate?
Kids, for me, love it. I got 3 little ones and they're everything to me. It's just so much fun to get home to them.
Good. Joel?
Yeah, I like windsurfing when the season's right. I also have a kid on the way, so maybe I'll be Rob's answer in a month's time.
Congrats. Question number 4, if you lost all of your money and your assets tomorrow, how would you start again?
Holy shit.
Working hard. Working hard for sure.
I definitely just start probably trying to invest in real estate again.
Okay, all right, good. And last question, if somebody has $50,000 and they want to get started in real estate investing, how would you recommend they spend it?
I think both of us could answer on this one. Definitely invest in whiteelmdesignbuild.com.
Wow.
No comment.
What's that?
So what do you think they would actually do? Serious question though.
Go ahead.
No, great. You good. No, I would invest in a project like you spelled it out for us earlier when you talk about doing like a more facelift on a project. Like find the perfect property that doesn't need a new roof and furnace and isn't, doesn't have a leaky foundation, and spend $50,000 on that.
Yeah, as long as that's not their only $50,000, because they still need the down payment money, right?
Right. I wasn't sure you weren't clear enough.
All right, awesome. So guys, obviously your expertise is being contractors and the whole renovation part of everything. Where can the listeners find out more about you and reach out?
Either through our website, which is whiteelmdesignbuild.com, or you can follow us on Instagram, which is just at whiteelmdesignbuild.
All right, awesome, guys. Thanks for being on the show. You guys are hilarious. I will say the jokes that go on WhatsApp with these guys is hilarious. Like, I'm laughing every single day. This is like very entertaining, but I am also very confident that they're doing a great job. So thanks, guys, for being on the show.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah,
Appreciate
for
it.
having us.
Thanks so much for listening to Where Should I Invest with your host, Sarah Larbi. Make sure to listen in next time. We'll catch you on the next episode of Where Should I Invest.